coming at you live from a couple of stools in the low class studios. This is a feminist and a comedian walk into a bar. I'm Justin Golak. I'm a comedian. Did I say it right for some reason? Do you ever have that thing where you say something, you're like, did I say it right?
Yeah, it's coming at you from a couple of
No, I
stools
know
in
I
the
said
low
that. Did I
class.
say a feminist and a comedian? Did I say it right?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
All right.
Because I thought you said the beginning weird.
No, I said the beginning perfect. That I have no question about.
Mm,
All right, a
we
feminist
usually
and a...
don't say live, but okay.
No, I always said live since we started doing the video
video.
feed because we're technically coming live. Like you're probably, if you're listening to this audio, you're probably not listening live.
Got it.
But just follow youtube.com. I think it's /user/Justin Golak.
Mm-hmm.
You can just search
Give it a
Justin
subscribe.
Golak on YouTube. Give it a subscribe. You get notified every time we go live. We go live 99% of the time on Sundays, sometime in the afternoon to early evening. So yeah, give us a subscribe on there because we do
And
go
you'll hear
live.
it live, yeah.
And plus video.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty tight. Yeah. Feminist and comedian walking into a bar. I'm a comedian. I'm Justin Golak. I'm sipping on a Pacifico.
Pacifico.
It's October. It's rainy. Is there any worse weather than rainy fall?
Yeah, 110 degree summer.
You think rainy fall is is better?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Yeah. I
fine.
love fall. Like I love
But
that, like,
rainy, cold rain?
Yeah, you like cuddle up inside and make a hot cocoa. And
Nah, I think it even bums you
snuggle.
out inside.
Nah, not
I'd
me.
rather inside.
I feel more motivated to get work done because I'm like, oh yeah, it's like nasty outside. I'm like stuck inside. I'm gonna do some cool shit.
Well, that's why
Read a
I think
book.
that's why people like you like fall because you can incorporate work into it.
No, I don't think it's the work thing. I think it's my like
I'm never
self.
motivated to work anyways. So
So you're just like, this is preventing me from playing outside.
yes, well, I guess I'll just play inside. So yeah, I don't know. It feels gross. I know we had a couple hot days, Friday and Saturday, but it's gross now.
I think
it's cold.
I think
it's
that's
rainy.
even weirder than the rainy. The fact that
Well,
it's
either
been
way,
like 90 degrees in October is weird.
Weird, good weird, a good weird.
Sort of surreal weird.
No,
like,
just
can't complain weird.
Just so good. Anyway, so this is the last Pacifico I have in the fridge.
Is that like
And I
your
think
summer
it's-
beer?
Yeah, I think it's apropos. Let's put summer to bed.
Finally.
Let's put Pacifico in the fridge to bed. Not finally, sadly. This is morning. I'm in mourning. So is today like the first day of fall? Is that something? Like it's always the 21st or 22nd, but that was probably September.
No, that
We're
was
probably
September,
already in fall, right?
we're knee deep in fall.
Knee deep? Would you say knuckle deep? I prefer knuckle deep.
I like knee deep.
I think knee
Those
deep
need to
usually
be
implies
ruined.
shit, right? Knee deep in the shit, as in
I
you
was
stepped
thinking
in
knee
deep shit.
as in like piles of leaves.
That's not how. There's no way that's how it's meant.
It's not.
I don't think it's
It's
definitely
not.
shit.
It's usually shit, but I'm just
And then
telling you
knuckle
what I was
deep.
thinking.
Knuckle deep is vagina.
Ew.
You never heard
People
that
say
before?
that? Is it like your first knuckle or like your knuckle that connects to your hand?
I think just knuckle deep means you're not
In a vagina.
you're not flirting with the vagina.
Your hand
you're
is in there.
And so it's another kind of analogy. We're knuckle deep. Well, we're not really knuckle deep into this podcast yet, but
Yeah, we're like fingertip deep.
just the tip deep. All right. So with me as always, feminist Jackie Manti. What are you sipping on?
Oh, I found some boxed water.
Whoa.
So I'm going to try it. They say this is so much better for the environment, apparently.
That can't be true.
It can't be true.
Why does everyone hate? It's got a plastic lid.
I
And it's got a
know.
plastic spout. It's not like it's no plastic.
Our box is a sustainable option. 74% of its paper is made from trees, a renewable resource. Those trees from well-managed forests where new trees are continuously planted and remove CO2 from the atmosphere. The way we ship our boxes minimizes our carbon footprint. Our boxes are recyclable.
I guess you could probably fit more boxes.
We donate at least 1% of annual revenue to reforestation and world water relief. That's cool. It's better than fucking plastic bottles. But, like, how about we do neither?
How about we just don't exist as a species?
Human guilt. Let's try it. I haven't tried it yet.
I'm sure it just tastes like water,
Well,
right?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Oh, God. it
Tastes
more
like water.
Does it have like a
it's
box taste at
it's
all?
very wet.
Sometimes they can
That's
get
what I was thinking. Like it
orange
would
juice,
be
like
sort of
carton orange juice sometimes has
like
that box.
cardboardy.
Yeah, when you drink it straight from, like when you get the little ones from like a McDonald's.
No, it just tastes like bottled water
Okay.
in a box. I think the design is cool. That's obviously what they're hooking you. I did feel like a cunt though buying this
You
at
should.
the store, like where people are just like using food stamps, and I'm like, I'll have the boxed water.
And I will pay it with my food stamps.
No, but it's just it feels so pretentious,
It just seems
right?
inconvenient. And that's what I was like, maybe they could ship more because it's a square, but then it's triangular at the top. That's got to take up weird
Right,
space.
and that's the like.
I think it's bullshit.
That's the
But you know what's
fancy-
funny is in their thing to promote earthliness, they did uncover they did like slyly, like they didn't frame it as such, but that's like the bullshit. I'm anti-recycling. Um, they say it right in their little pitch. Like people are act like, oh, we need to not mail you your bills because we're saving the forests. I mean, most deforestation is for farming or for it's some sort of like like most deforestation like rainforest it's like agriculture based or industrial based. But like that whole idea that save a tree, trees are grown like corn, like for paper. You grow the tree, you make the paper, you grow it's a crop when you talk like paper
Well, that's
production.
what they said.
But my point is that's why recycling's
regrow it.
bullshit because it costs more energy to recycle than to just make new paper.
I always think I was just thinking this week about your argument that in like corporations want to they say they're saving money and saving the planet, or they say they're saving the planet by not billing you or like sending your bill in the mail,
They're trying to fuck you somehow.
and they're trying to save money.
Well,
but
yeah, they're
like,
definitely trying to save
I've been
money.
working with a company, and that's actually false. Like they make more money when they send you a bill in the mail because they put promos and like coupons and just stuff in there that make you actually long term.
Do they say that though? Because you don't think they could also make more money selling your email address to third party companies?
No. I'm just saying, I'm not disagreeing with you, Justin. I'm just saying that there are.
Sounds like you're disagreeing with me.
I just think there's more to that argument than your hyperbolic statement is.
I don't think
for.
that's ever
Per
true of anything I say. All right, let's get into topic one. This kind of ties in, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We're going to get into it regardless of what we ended
your
on.
attempt at a segue.
So this headline, I kind of like when I bring up the topic, I like to just kind of like quote a lot from the article itself. So
that we're referencing.
the headline kind of just caught me, and the headline is Chinese young people are rejecting Communist Party propaganda and the government is freaking out. And so basically,
what appeals to you in that headline? All of it.
well, I'll read from the article and then I'll kind of give you like what specifically I'm interested in. I think this is like what did I say? It's interesting to see different societies at different processes in kind of cultural evolution and also like
points in the process?
different strands of it. So it's not like it's just
Yeah.
like ABC, like, monkey, Neanderthal, man. It's also this thing of like, also like if something was like this, what kind of tangent would that take it on, and so on. So, because there's obviously differences between America
sort of how,
and
like,
China.
all cultures dance, but their dances are very, very different.
Not a fan of that, but no.
Oh.
No, because it's like because dance doesn't really evolve. I guess it evolved. No,
I mean, you said culturally.
why don't you just let me do the thing and then let me branch it. I'm
trying
doing
to
a
help
I'm
you
doing a
out.
big balloon.
trying to
I'm
help you
doing a
out.
big balloon setup.
Okay.
But anyway, so I guess the name of this movie. So China was releasing this movie called Founding Fathers of the Army, which tells the story of the founding of the People's Liberation Army, and they put it out in theaters and it kind of flopped. And excuse me, hold on. Oh, sorry, Pacifico burp. So, Founding Fathers of the Army. It was this film made essentially by the Communist Party of China to kind of drum up patriotism, right? It's kind of like what we do here. But like
it's a government-sponsored movie.
yeah,
That's
it's different, but it's same. But that's what I mean. It's basically it was this like war movie where like the People's Liberation Army are these heroes, and it's supposed to drum up all this patriotism. And it kind of flopped. And the thing is that young people, I mean, kind of think that these movies that kind of get released by these propaganda departments in the Chinese government are kind of corny. Like it's not like they're even woke about it. Like, I know what you do in China. They're just like, these kind of suck because there is a burgeoning film industry in China, just making like they said they like romantic dramas, martial arts films, and kind of like historic epics, which I guess would kind of be like, well, these propaganda films are, about like history, like Chinese
Mm-hmm.
history. But I think probably more. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a U.S. counterpart. I don't know, but something that's less like your country is the hero and more just kind of like these historical epics. I don't know, maybe like a
Yeah.
Jane Eyre. I think that's kind of what they were pointing towards. Whatever the Chinese version of that is, just some of these like historical kind of dramas.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay.
Not like a
Doesn't have
necessarily
to
a
be
war.
tied
Doesn't have to be
to
tied to
Chinese pride.
country or war. And martial arts films, and then just like romantic drama. So that's
Mhm.
what Chinese young people are into, and they have like, like celebrity. Like basically, that's the big thing about that this article is talking about is like that there's just celebrity culture in China, like there is in the United States. Like young people are into actresses and actors, and uh, you know, what they're doing, what they're wearing, what new movie they're in, and kind of like the idea of kind of in infiltrating your propaganda entertainment is kind of not really appealing to the youth of China anymore because they have other options. So I don't know. It just what it made me think of. Here's where I wanted to take this. So I'll just kind of throw out a bunch of stuff, and then you can get on the answer train, and then we'll just go from there. It's this idea of like when talking about like information, like the societal evolution that we have based on information, and also again, like I said, but like not every country, not every society has taken the same path. So there's like crossover. There's oranges, but there's also apples. So it's a lot of things. But I think of like you have your like North Korea's, right? Where there's like no information,
Mhm.
right? Like it's like, they have all that crazy shit that comes out. How there's like I just remember recently there was like, "Hey, do you want," like they had this kind of like emulator where you could surf the North Korean internet basically, like this, I think it was like a flash program where you could like basically do a simulated browse of the North Korean internet. It's like 8 web pages. Like literally it's like 8 web pages you can go to. They're all government run.
Right.
Um and then you have the US, which is, for, all intensive purposes, like free, right? You post anything on the internet, all the social media is open, it's very free. A lot of the, Europe's probably similar, so I'm not saying
You
US
can buy a
only.
site, make your own
Western
platform.
society, as they say, I guess, you
Mhm.
got the freedom. And then, like, you got someone like China who, it was big news recently. I don't know if you heard about it. Like, Google struck a deal with China because I
Mhm.
think Google is blocked in China,
Google,
obviously.
Facebook, Snapchat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but Google struck a deal where they basically, because Google's been the big. It was a big thing because Google, like what's their catchphrase again? Don't be evil or something like that. That's like their slogan. And they
I've
have
never
this,
heard that.
and in this country they fight for like net neutrality and all those things. But basically, the way they got into China, which they obviously wanted to do because they can make a ton of money, it's a huge country, is they kind of like made some concessions on censorship. Like
Hmm.
they were like, all right, we'll come to your country, and China was like, all right, and if you come, we'll kind of be able to regulate these parts of what people see and don't see. And it was kind of seen as this kind of like, it's good because they're getting something, but
What
Google
do they
kind
want to
of,
hide? Do you remember?
just like
Bad
all other.
news about China,
I mean, I
or?
don't know specifics, and I
Mhm.
doubt there are specifics, but it's like everything. They want the government to look good. They want the country to look good. They want, any dissident voices to be kind of tamped down. Just
Yeah.
standard oppressive regime stuff. Or really any, that's what I said, like really any regime. You know what I mean? It's just, it depends on the laws that whatever your government is allowed to do or not do. But so, anyways, I guess what I want to talk about is just that, like, what is, what do you think is the role of information in a freer society, a less oppressive society? Because I just I think of us, and I think of North Korea, and I think of China in the middle. Now you got democracy, communism, you
Mhm.
got dictatorships, you got, like I said, like it's not all oranges, but this one orange that does everything. Where you have North Korea, no information, and then you have the U.S. all the information, but then you have this China thing where you're almost like I think like the thing with North Korea is you'd almost be like, that's what we always think, right? Kind of just very silver bullety is like, well, if they just knew, if they knew what the world was like outside of North Korea, if they knew what everyone thought of Kim Jong Un, if they knew all this, they would rebel, they would feel dumb, they would, be inspired to do something different. But then you look at like America, total information freedom, and what is our problem, right? It seems to be the new oppression is you can't trust your information. There's also too many sources. Who you don't. There's the Russians are putting out information through Facebook because no one's regulating it. So it's almost like this weird call in a free speech country for like more regulation of information. But traditionally that always just seems like the ultimate taboo to censor information. So I don't know. Like, what do you think is any regulation good, or do we have a better problem than North Korea? Like we do because they're worse.
Oh, totally.
But I mean, all right. Do we have a better problem than China?
Yes.
Where it's free, they do their own thing, but at least there's competition from Hollywood. Like I don't know. It's just interesting to me.
No, we absolutely have a better predicament.
Yeah,
on
I
our
guess
hands.
that's a weird way to frame it, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
I know
Like
what you're saying. I think that keeping information from someone is a type of slavery. I think that is, you are not free if you're being kept from information that would help you make a decision, an important decision. And like I struggle with that in America. What that looks like in America, I think, is like, well, how there was just that story about Trump releasing files about the JFK assassination and how some of it's still going to be redacted and not released to the public because it's just too sensitive of information. And don't you struggle with that? Just like, I mean, I'm sure there are things that need to be kept secret for the FBI to do their job, for example. Or
but then like, are there?
we are protecting lives by keeping this information quiet, like American lives that are overseas by keeping this information quiet. I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like that is a case by case basis. That's why I feel like saying that generalized so I mean, can we ever really be free then? Can we ever really have all this information? But I mean, that's a huge question. I think that it is our responsibility as citizens to keep asking for the truth and looking for the truth and and staying on top of, like, it's easy to get disheartened, like, I can't fucking trust any of these things, like, who knows if they're telling the right story. Like, even reading about China, I'm like, I don't know, is this just a story that like this reporter thought would be good for like a clickbait? I mean, that's why you clicked it, the headline. Like,
I mean, it is
what's the full story,
Newsweek,
right?
so it's not.
I know, but
the
like, do you
worst
get what I'm
source,
saying?
yeah.
Like, I struggle with it too, but I don't think that's a reason to like sort of stop or think that we need regulations. I don't think the solution is regulation. I think the solution is in a revival of ethics in journalism and like paying for journalism and valuing what journalism once was and like can be, and like about seeking the truth and continuing to call bullshit on Fox News and even I mean even when the left are not presenting information in a way, like, I mean, we've talked about so many times, like, when CNN uses words like Hillary slams Donald Trump, I'm like, I think that's unethical journalism. Stop using that language when you are seen as like a major news source, right? I think that's our way back. I don't even know if way back is the right word, but like the way through having all of this, it's incredible. The internet is amazing. I think it's fuck yeah, America. Like, it's so great that we have all of this at our fingertips. We need to learn to use that knowledge smartly. And I think in schools we need to I mean, I don't know. I haven't been in a school in 15 years, but like there needs to be classes taught on how to read this information. Do you remember having classes about like advertising and like how can you read an ad and like what are they trying to sell you? I thought that's so good, I think, to teach children, like, they're trying to sell you something. Here's how to see that. Just being using your critical thinking skills for information that you're being given by someone who wants you to take a specific action, right? So now we read ads differently. I think that should be taught about news and how we read the news, what news we do read, what sources online, what is satire online. I feel like we see a lot of our older generation falling for these satire pieces because they haven't seen it online before, or like don't know what that is. Like teaching kids like here's what this looks like, here's not how to think about it, but like, how can you critically analyze all of these pieces of information and then put together what you think the truth is? Speaking of the Chinese youth culture, I did some like looking around of, I just like Googled millennials China, and like, have you heard of Sang culture? Sang.
Mm-mm.
It's so fucking fascinating. It sounds like emo, but like 15 years later, right? It's
Okay.
like emo was big when I was in college, but like it's like a word for this culture, and I think it started in Japan. I don't know. I'm not like an expert on this, but like started in Japan, but now Chinese youth are really into this like sang bloggers and sang talking about celebrities, right? Like people are into this idea. What it is it's like this sort of ironic defeatism. Like it's obviously a response to social problems that they're having there, right? Like the economy's bad. There's all this social pressure because they're the only. So a lot of them are the only child, like
Yeah.
to succeed. And I mean, it's even harder to. I mean, the ratio of like income to buying a house, like when buying a house is seen as the ultimate like goal, and like you shouldn't get married until you have a house. But what you can't buy one because like that your income's so low. All this stuff that I feel like resonates with millennials in America, right? And the story I was reading was about this tea company that's like a 28-year-old runs it, and like it's become really popular with kids, and like the tea names are like sitting around and waiting to die, black tea, or like hold on, they're really funny. They're just super defeatist, and like there's just this feeling of like I'm not gonna succeed, so why should I? I'm just gonna be kind of idle. Like it's like a cult of idleness almost, which I thought was interesting with this story, right? Like I just don't. I think we have more in common with Chinese millennials than I feel like I've in common with an American baby boomer. You know, I totally get it. But like they talked about how, members of, I don't know, it's not like a group, it's not like a party, right? This sang party, but like the millennials were like upset that the communist or the government had gotten rid of BoJack Horseman online because BoJack Horseman was like their dude. Because have you seen it? Right?
Mm-mm.
Oh, he's
I've heard about it.
he's like a washed up
What do you mean they
celebrity.
got rid of it?
Like they don't air it on,
Oh, in
you can't get it
Chinese.
on, yeah,
Gotcha.
in China you can't like watch it anymore. And like they were like, millennials were pissed, and like the government started like uh or there was an ad company that like started a like ad series to try to push against sang culture, and it's called Ran culture. I guess it means like on fire, but basically it's all about optimism and like trying to
Mm-hmm.
like spark like your defeatism is self-sabotage. I don't know, they sound like sort of Gen Xers too, right? Of this like, oh, I'm never gonna fucking succeed or live up to your expectations. I'm just sort of gonna like check out and like tune out. And it'll be interesting to follow that and see what happens, especially if the economy doesn't pick up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I just love that they were pissed that BoJack Horseman wasn't around. Hold on.
That's kind of funny.
Waiting for my funeral tea. Uh, achieved absolutely nothing. Black tea. My ex's life is better than mine. Fruit tea. Yeah, like the China State Council is like upset about it, and like it's like writing editorials like, this is not, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your country, but they don't give a fuck. I don't know, that just feels so, I feel like we've, like you said, like you were talking about sort of at different points in the process of cultural change. I feel like theirs is really relatable.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I just think like I don't know. I don't really have a lot of don't really have a lot of faith in the populace as a whole,
Okay.
and I just never really do.
So do you think information should be better regulated?
No, I just don't think it matters. I guess that's my point. That was kind of the more. I obviously, if you've been listening to any of these 45 episodes, you know that would be the last thing I would be for. It's more just like the fact that there's always this call for like information freedom as the path forward. And clearly it should be. Clearly that's a great tenet of a free society.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think it's really important in social change. I think it's important in just like
You don't think information is
no,
important in social change?
no, because like you saw, I mean, you know, it's like you give people you give people the opportunity to access information freely, and what do? They access information that agrees with them. They don't access the
Hmm.
best information.
Yeah, we were sort of seeing it play out in real time.
Yeah, it
here.
doesn't work. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, you say you can have any information you want. You can find whatever news source you want. You can find any take on any issue you want.
Hmm.
Would you like the most truthful? Would you like the most in depth? Would you like the most reasonable? And collectively, the whole country basically goes, no, I would like the one that agrees with me. Not more times than not, but almost every single time. So
Mm,
I don't think it really matters.
do you think that could change though? With
No.
I think so. I think that because I don't disagree with you on that point, but I don't see it as hopeless. I think that what you're talking about is like identity
I need
politics,
some of those
right? And
sancties.
you need some sancties. You would totally be, although they're really successful. So it's like, are you defeating your purpose? Um, but what was I saying?
You think it could get better?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm always so hopeful, and it never works out. But like, I think that I feel at least. Uh, uh, what you're talking about is identity politics, and we're like, this person agrees with me. Okay, like, party over politics, right? Party over policy, people over, race over actual character. It's things like, I think we're gonna move past that. I think we're gonna see that is why Trumpism happened, was because liberals were really embracing identity politics and speaking to it
But
in a
what have they
way.
done since it? They've run harder to it.
I know, but I think that will I think that we'll run over the cliff and then we'll start over and we'll want information. I don't know.
No.
I know.
But that's what I mean. Like you just use I mean, that's kind of what uh that's kind of what the elites in America have figured out, right? That's what I mean, China's doing it old school, right? They're like, if we funnel the information through us, we can select information that benefits
Are you
us.
proposing the government? You want the government?
No, I'm
Okay.
just saying it doesn't matter. I don't. I'm saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying what China does is the old school version of what we think of as media control by the government and propaganda and all that stuff. Right? They take all the information, they funnel it through them first, and then they, uh, you know, parse it out to you, the public, and they say like, all right, this is the good information, and the information that we don't want you to hear, we just suppress, and then we also like sprinkle in some information that we create. But what America does, because obviously when that happens in any society, there's some sort of revolt, whether it's violent or just social. People don't like it, and in America, if you post any sort of regulation or censorship, I mean, it's immediate. It's like, look what's happening. Can't take that. This is the country of the First Amendment. So I think our government doesn't even try to do that anymore. And what you see happening, I mean, for a while now, I mean, during the Bush years, what you see is, all right, we're not going to force you to listen to anything. We're not going to suppress anything. What we're going to do is we're going to create a thing that gives you the information that, I mean, it's basically they treat us like dogs, right? They go, here's the information we want you to see, and to make sure your eyes stay on it, every half hour you watch it, we give you a little treat. And that's basically what they're doing. Every time,
Who is doing?
just the right, the left, you know,
I just don't. I think
that's
it's an
all Fox.
unfair to compare Fox News to like NPR. They're doing vastly different reporting.
I'm not saying there's no.
And NPR, people think that's a leftist organization. It is not.
I don't think that.
It's journalism. I think
I'm not saying
NPR
there's
does
no
amazing
journalism.
journalism.
I'm not saying there's no journalism in
I just
the
feel like you're
United
putting
States.
them in the same bucket, and
But
it's
they
just
are.
not
But they
fair.
are. They are because there is a definition that comes from just the practicality of things in culture. So you could say Fox News, MSNBC, that's not journalism. NPR, that's journalism. But if people are getting their news from Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC as a whole, then it is the news in practice. You could,
I wasn't saying it wasn't the news. I'm arguing that I don't think that's you can compare.
but I'm not comparing. I'm
What
saying
people
that,
think of as right and left news. I think that the left, what they bucket into the
but there
left,
is,
is
but there
a
is
lot
left.
better journalism than what you're seeing on the
But my
right.
point is, okay, there is left news. Would you agree that there's left news? Just left news.
I don't know. Like what do your
MSNBC.
I
I
don't
don't know a
watch
bunch
it.
of.
We don't watch cable.
Okay, but my point is there is left news, there is right news, and there is centrist news, or just news that is sans bias. People don't watch that news. That's my whole point. That's the point? Is that in China, you would say NPR, get out of this country, or whatever the equivalent is, right? You'd say get out of here. Anything that doesn't agree with us, get out of here. But in the United States, since they wouldn't stand for that, what they do is instead of saying NPR, get out of here, the left and the right news says, all right, listen, we can't make you not watch NPR, but if you watch us, we'll show you a Katy Perry nip slip every 15 minutes. Is that okay? And then the American public as a whole goes, deal. That's what you see happening, I think, in America. Is they go, all right, deal. I'll watch your news if you make it fun for me. That's my whole point. Yeah, there is good journalism. No one reads it. No one consumes it. Everyone consumes the worst journalism.
That's not true. And I think that more people, if you were to, I mean, I don't know numbers on this, but more people on the left are probably reading that centrist news than people on the right. Because I think people on the right think
possible.
of NPR as a left organization.
Okay, I think that's true. They do, but I don't think it is, and I also don't think a lot of people listen to it. I just really don't. I
don't know. So like, what
I mean, most people.
What is it like?
But here's the thing you're not understanding. Also, and this literally goes to this election. This election is kind of like a new tree in the whole branch of this thing, which is Facebook. Facebook is a left and right news source, far left and far right. It's whatever you want it to be. It's customizable.
It's whatever the algorithm decides
and
you are.
Fuck NPR, fuck the New York Times, fuck Fox News and MSNBC. Most people get their news
on Facebook.
From Facebook.
Yeah.
So that's my point. And why? Because it's like, come here. We'll tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Well, it's easy. And it's not just that people are idiots. It's that it's easier. You already want to get on Facebook to check your likes, and then there's news there.
That's what I mean. They give you something you like, and then they throw in the news kind of on the back end.
Okay.
So I just don't think information is the... I don't think information... I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think it's information. It's always thought to be, right? It's always this idea that, the Arab Spring, they got Twitter, and then they overthrow their governments. And then how are those countries doing? Not great. They kind of overthrow the governments, and then it's just chaos. Because there's no plan, because populations as a whole aren't informed, aren't intelligent, don't have a plan. They just go, I don't like this. I kind of like this. I also kind of just want to be told I'm right. That's kind of my end game also for all of this. So, all right, let's move on to topic 2. That's you, baby.
Yeah.
Take us into 2.
So topic 2, it's not really related to a specific news article necessarily like yours was, but I wanted to talk about, we kind of touched on Harvey Weinstein last week and the, sort of the Hollywood patriarchy crumbling beautifully. But it's led to a lot of, so I think that's what sparked that Me Too campaign. I don't even want to call it a campaign, but, that Me Too phenomenon, I guess, on Facebook that you saw. And I just want to talk about sort of how you think of what is dubbed as call-out culture versus, like, because here's what I struggle with is, like, I don't like call-out culture. I think that it's very negative and does the opposite of its intended effect. It shuts people down versus creating a conversation and like you just see it used as a weapon more than I see it used more as a weapon than as to make someone feel shitty and to show your superiority or dominance intellectually or morally or with anything, right? Instead of, I think its intended effect, its original intended effect, which was to educate or create a conversation or just sort of let someone know, like, well, did you ever think about this point of view? But we don't use that language when we're talking online. It's different now. It's so different than if you're having a face-to-face conversation, right?
Right.
But so what is that versus like this stepping forward idea? And like, I think the article I did post was like, if you're not speaking out, you're letting the rapist win, basically. And I think I hate that language also, because I feel like the Me Too campaign, for example, or whatever, the Me Too, for example, I think that was such a personal thing that you're asking women to like get on board and like say something about, and like you shouldn't have to, right? You shouldn't have to. It's like putting the onus on women to solve this or to bring awareness to it, which is all fair and good, but I just always get like prickly when there's like this, you should do this if you're going to be a good liberal progressive feminist, you should do this. Okay, but so anyway, I'm just interested in like sort of your thoughts on call out culture versus like stepping forward, because I do think it's incredible that women were, for example, here's my best example of the difference. I feel like call out culture was represented when I saw posts of women naming names of people who allegedly sexually assaulted them 10, 15 years ago with no proof. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's dangerous and scary. But then there were women who I thought were like, calling out, like, saying Me Too, and then like, here's an example. And like I said before, I think that was really helpful because Me Too is really ineffectual. We know, you just assume if a woman has boobs on her body, she's been harassed or assaulted in some way. Like, what this was more about, what I think was more effectual, is when they were like, here are examples of times I felt really uncomfortable, because I think that a lot of men don't know that what they're doing is inappropriate or just weird, or like, I feel threatened because of the bigger culture, and like, now you're in this smaller you know what I mean? Like, having those examples I think was super helpful. But then when you took it to this level of like naming names and like for things that like happened, I'm not saying like just happened and we're calling them out and like filing a police report. I'm saying like, you're just sort of, it just feels gross to me to like name someone who 20 years ago molested you in the kitchen restaurant when like, go file a police report. Do you know what I mean? There's like, I just think we step into
I would
dangerous
say
territory with
that
stuff.
to me that would be if you're looking for kind of like a simple line, like a kind of like smell test. I think it's will you speaking do something meaningful? I think that's really kind of like your smell test of, is it worth me saying something? Is it not worth me saying something? Whether it be public or private. I think that to me, even though this wasn't sexual assault, I think of something like, and because I think this could happen with like sexual assault, which is, well, I thought I can think of an example of something we talked about, but I'll say this one first. But something like the Cecil the Lion guy, right? He killed Cecil the Lion. He's a dentist. People go on his Yelp page, try to get his dental practice shut down. Now, he did a shitty thing, but is his dental practice is that causing him to kill lions? Maybe you could argue that the money he earns from that gives him enough money to go to Africa to kill lions, but is there a direct link? I wouldn't say there's one. Is it illegal in Africa? No. They use spotters and everything to do it. It's not even illegal. It's a business there. So you just don't like it, and you taking out his dental practice doesn't cure wildlife poaching. It doesn't cure this guy. I don't know. It just seems kind of like a thing. And I was more thinking about in the sexual assault realm. God, I always forget his name, so I always confuse it with the character. The guy from Birth of a Nation. Nate Parker, right?
Oh yeah, and Nate Turner, yeah.
Wait, what is it though? Which one's which?
Parker.
Parker's,
Nate Turner. Oh shit.
It's
no,
Nat Turner.
Nat Turner,
is
Nate
the slave,
Parker.
and Nate Parker is the
Yes.
guy. So Nate Parker,
They
I
are
mean,
so similar.
that's a good kind of analogy to or comparison to Weinstein because he's young, he's new
Mm.
to the business, he's kind of a self like I don't think he at least at that point in his career um, had any position that he was exploiting. When he was accused of his sexual assault, it was when he was in college. You know, I mean, he was a football player in college, right? So
A
you would
wrestler.
argue he's probably part of a bigger power dynamic as a football player than he is as a new filmmaker, some art house filmmaker, you know. I don't know. So it just seems like and he did go to trial and he did get acquitted and so to bring that up again, it's like why? Like he's been acquitted and also like taking his film away from him isn't going to protect other women, so it just seemed like kind of like that seemed kind of call outy. And no woman I don't remember a woman coming forward that seemed like a media kind of thing, like the media brought that forward, but I think the media can be part of call out culture. I just think the reason it's different is because with someone like Weinstein, because obviously the first thing people say, right, is like file a police report, go through the proper channels, blah blah blah. And like I obviously think that, but I am like liberal enough to be like
Empathize with
to
why they
empathize,
don't.
well,
Yeah.
just to realize that that's not always the only way to get things done because those proper channels aren't proper, meaning that
Effectual.
they don't work all the time.
Yeah.
But my point is to know if it's a call out, to know if it's vindictive, to know if it's just kind of an offense and not a defense to you or some sort of justice seeking. I think it's something like a Weinstein thing where it's like, we might not be able to get you in jail because things like proof, things like the time, how long ago this happened, you know, things like that. But it's very clear that what we're trying to take away from you is the thing directly that you're using to commit crimes. And unless we
Mhm.
stop you, all signs point to you will continue to commit these
Right.
crimes until you die or your dick stops working. So
That was awesome.
I think that's when it's like not really call out culture.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing this because it will affect meaningful change.
Right.
Whereas I think something like the Nate Parker thing, it's like, what's the
Mhm.
meaningful change of letting people know about something from his past that he was acquitted of? You know, like what women are you saving? Women, you know, like what women is he putting in danger? Like, what are you taking? What are you doing to help that? If you think that is I guess my point. If you think that is a thing, if you think he could be putting women in danger, what is getting his film blocked from being released from a major studio? What's how? Or are you just? Then it feels just like a show, like a feeding a Christian to the lions kind of thing. Like we got another bad guy,
Yeah.
throw him out to the public, have their way with. Whereas Weinstein feels like we're trying to help.
Yeah,
We're trying to help
we're
a
getting
thing.
rid of this guy. It's putting other people on notice who do have that much power. Like, don't fucking do this anymore because you will get your career, reputation, legacy will be destroyed. Which is awesome. Like, I'm looking forward to hopefully the next one to go in Hollywood is you hear about all those pedophile rings and like
Those
like
ain't going anywhere.
the
That's the only
boys
reason we
being
have
raped.
Hollywood.
Oh fuck, man. I hope that that's next. I hope that this opens the door for that sort of next wave of like people just you cannot do this. You can't abuse your power like this. But yeah, that's interesting. I think that
Pedophile rings aren't a consequence of movies. Movies are a consequence of pedophile rings. So you're not
okay.
gonna get. They were just plowing kids, and then they're like, you know what? After I plow this kid, I got like a 2-day refractory period because I'm an old guy, right?
Stop.
What
I hate when you say plowing.
What could we do in the meantime? You know what? Let's put him next to a talking dog on his off hours. And, we'll make a couple bill that way. Then we'll get back to sweet plowing.
I think
That's the only reason there's child
moving
actors.
on.
That's the only reason there's boy bands. The only reason that there's any kind of
Some grown up wants
any
to fuck him.
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's what I mean.
That's
Pedophile
so
rings
sad.
created entertainment. Entertainment didn't create pedophile rings.
But okay.
No one said like, oh look, Corey Haim is making great movies and music. We got to try to get into that industry so we could fuck guys like Corey Haim.
Too soon.
They were just like, let's fuck Corey Haim and then let's make some bucks off him. Because you know who else likes to fuck Corey Haim? Teenage girls. We'll fuck them and then we'll put them on screen.
It's Isn't that the
to people
saddest
that want to
story?
fuck him, and then we'll collect, 25% off what he brings
It
in.
makes me furious.
Oh, it's horrific.
It's
I don't want you to think I'm making light of it. I'm just not making. I think the world makes light of it by not realizing that that's all that happens all the time. And fuck call out culture. Corey Feldman's been telling you that for years,
yeah,
and
and
you're
we
like,
make fun of him,
I
and
don't
we
care.
take
I don't care.
we go to his concerts ironically and take photos of his fucking clear mental breakdown.
And I
like,
told
post
you
about it.
there's
It's
that
funny.
there's that Howard Stern
Ugh.
interview with the guy from LFO that passed away young. He
Yeah.
had like cancer,
Yeah.
and he talks about Lou Pearlman.
Yep.
Ron Perlman's
Lou?
Ron Perlman's the Hellboy guy. I think it's Lou
Yeah.
Pearlman. Sorry, Ron.
Sorry.
Ron did not
Big
plow boys,
difference.
as far as I know. But yeah, he just told all these hilarious stories about like how he was a creep. Like he never really, like he kind of just rebuffed
The
him.
LFO guy said Perlman was a creep, but the LFO guy was like older at the time when he became famous, right? So
I think he was still like in his. Maybe he was.
well,
like,
he was able to be like, no, dude, like get out, like I'm not gonna.
I think, and he wasn't, he was like, and it doesn't excuse it, but he wasn't like plowy. He was just like, I think he just wanted like to touch your chest while he jerked off or something, So it was like a little, I guess it was like easier to rebuff because you're not 11 and being held down. You're like 16 and given like a weird request.
It's like Foxcatcher.
and you can kind of,
like,
yeah, it's not great.
Let's
I hope
wrestle.
this doesn't sound like I'm like, look, it wasn't that bad. Lou seems like a nice guy. I just want to touch your chest and jerk off. It's a good dude. No, I mean, it's horrific, but I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it made him seem like, it's not like he ever had to like punch him and run away. He just kind of was always like, nah, I gotta go. Nah, I gotta wake up early. But anyways, the point is like, that's not, you can Google that. You can Google LFO guy, find his name, even easier. That guy's name, Howard Stern, punch it in YouTube. You can listen to the whole interview. It's hilarious. It's
but
darkly
he's in jail
hilarious.
now, right? Perlman.
He's dead. He went to
Dead?
jail
Oh,
for
okay.
something financial, and then he died in jail. So he didn't even go to jail for touching. I mean, it's just it's out there and no one cares. So
Well, even like Elijah Wood when had that interview about how like there are pedophile rings of touching little boys trying to get roles acting. I hope that's next. Fingers fucking crossed that that's next.
no, that won't be next.
But
you already got a case study in that. It's called the Catholic Church. You have like one pope that doesn't condone throwing gays off
Is it just
buildings, and
like-
everyone's like, the Catholic Church is nice again.
is it because
Look at the Pope.
Is it because it's boys? Like, why
it's,
such denial?
it's what
about
I
it?
say all the time. It's what I say all the time. It's
all the time.
It's the fact that people don't really give a shit. They want to see something done, and if you take on a big issue, it's harder to see that, and they want to pat themselves on the back. And they don't, and if they're going to get involved, they want something done because they want to see it, and they need it done quick because I got a softball game tonight. So we need this social change immediately. And that's why, I mean, Weinstein's good, but it's like you said, like patriarchy in Hollywood is crumbling. It is not. It is not. But it feels good to spend a week on Twitter putting in a hashtag, see one guy get fired, a big guy, so not nothing, and then be like, we solved it.
Nah, no, I'm not saying we solved it, Justin.
I'm not saying
and
you
they're,
are.
And they're not
I'm not
saying,
saying you
no,
are.
But you're being fucking condescending. They're not using that hashtag saying, look, we solved it, guys. This is one thing. See, this is, oh, fuck you. This is how change happens, and it feels so good as a woman to see other women, especially women in power, saying, no, this happened to me too, and like, this cannot stand anymore. So even if this and it will continue for a few more decades, Justin, but like this is the start. This is how it starts, and those people are put on blast. This is not, you're going to get called out. We live in a culture where you're
Me?
No, maybe. Did you do something shitty 20 years ago? But like,
I was only 13. I did a lot of shitty things, but all to myself.
There are moments when I will accept your pessimistic view, but like
This is a good. It's realistic.
This is a good story.
The Catholic Church is thriving, and
No,
there's
it's
just
not.
it's
not thriving. It has less.
religiosity is dying
no.
because people
I
aren't
just read an
believing in
article in
God.
Scientific American that by 2030, the majority of people will not have a religious affiliation. Religion is dying.
They won't have a religious affiliation,
Do not come at me with
but
your
they'll
hyperbole
still go to
about
Catholic
religion.
Church for Christmas. Christmas. They'll still see the Pope, like I said, they got this new
Okay,
Pope.
okay,
How
so
many
stuff
people do you
changes
know?
slowly.
But
It
how many
changes
people do you
slowly, but
know?
it's changing,
How
and
many
that's
people do
good.
you know that aren't religious that are like, this new Pope's great? Not realizing like he's literally the Pope of a kid fuck empire. That's what he's the leader of kid
Yeah, and in
fuckopolis.
fact, they're tricking you by saying, yeah, I get it.
That's my point though. So my point is they're probably gonna be like the new president of Weinstein Corp, this woman. We fixed it. And most people will not give a shit. And that's the thing, is like that's my point. Is like there are there's so much pedophilia. That's my whole point. Is like people want to rescue Cecil the lion because he's a lion. He's all pretty, and he was in that movie where they sang the songs, and like this guy is just this kind of white douchey looking guy. We could take him down with some Yelp reviews. Yeah, we did a thing. Like we took out Weinstein. We did a thing, but like you don't want to listen to rape stories. That's going to ruin your day. You don't want to sift through, all these directors, all these producers. That takes time. You don't want a 10-year drought of movies. You don't think that could happen? You don't think we could find enough shit in Hollywood that it would cleanse the talent pool so much that there would be like a 10-year gap where you'd have to wait for new directors to learn their craft, new producers to get money and resources to produce these things. Like we're in a golden era of entertainment. You think people would give that up just to save some actresses from an uncomfortable evening? No, they wouldn't. People are selfish like that, and that's the same thing. Do you really want to hear?
I just don't look at it like that. I think that as a woman who is like has experienced this, like I know I have swallowed the pill that like this is gonna take time and it's gonna happen slowly and shit's gonna happen, but like we're progressing on this side and that is good news. It's gonna change slowly. I'm not like you're making it sound like we shouldn't even be having these hashtag conversations or like doing it because like what's the point, because it's not going to change anything. I think it changes stuff and it's going to be slow, but it's going to fucking happen. Even I think that this outrage that is like justified outrage, and women coming forward being like no, this is fucked up, is related to the fact that like Donald Trump is president and he said on camera, I grabbed them by the pussy. Like he talked about openly sexually assaulting women and he's allowed to do it because he's a powerful man. We see him as president getting away with fucking murder, and like women want to say something. We want to say something. That's why I have, as much as I get annoyed when women are like, and so call like touched me in the kitchen 20 years, like I think that's fucked up, but I get it. I get it. There is a rage that we didn't say something sooner, that we didn't feel like we could say something sooner, that there weren't people helping us earlier.
Okay, that's
and that
fine.
this
Like
is,
I
so
feel
I
like
just
you,
think it's
but
gonna,
you're not really answering anything. Like that's fine. Like you just like I don't agree with you, and these are why I like the movement. I didn't say the movement's bad. Here's the best way I can put it. Though that I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist.
I'm
I
not
mean,
disagreeing with you. I'm just saying,
but then
like,
that's the point. Then that's the fine. Don't. I'm right. I mean, I'm just historically correct. This could be the albatross that changes everything, but I don't feel that. My point
I'm
is
not saying it's going to be the albatross.
okay.
That
Listen, my
everything.
point is here's the point. Here's the point I'm trying to make. Is you say like, should we not do anything? No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that the same way. Like when I say like when we've talked about Trump, and I say I love Trump because now everyone hates the office of the presidency as much as I do. I hate that office. And does that mean I want to get rid of that and we're just bands of tribes roaming the streets, killing people, eating zucchinis? No. But the point is, I want just us on, like, dude, you are in an important position. We're on you every fucking day, every fucking move you make. It's diligent. And that's the same thing. So my point is, anyone leading this movement, like, hey, I'm a woman or I'm a man or I'm a this or I'm a that, and I'm a clean up Hollywood. It starts at Weinstein and keeps moving. Just because they're doing a good thing, because the president of the United States, all your Congress people, they claim to be wanting to do good things too. You need to hold these leaders of social justice movements accountable.
True.
And no one does, because it's like they're a feminist, they're a Black Lives Matter, they're a this, they're doing a great thing. Don't question anything they do. And that's the thing. It's like if you question anything you do, you're someone on the right trying to take them down. It's like, no, I'm trying to actually make this thing better. I'm trying to hold us all accountable. And that's my point is people call it cannibalism of the left. I think that is simplification. But I think you're right. When people say, when people are excited about the Weinstein thing, I don't care about your excitement. What I'd rather have you do is what we talked about. I'd rather you have say, hey, congrats on this minor victory, but I am not going to watch another film until we get 100 pedophiles in jail that have worked in the Hollywood industry. And I guarantee you that's about 10% of them that are currently alive working in the industry right now. So you give me 100 of them in jail, maybe I'll go to the theater again. But people don't. They want to see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to take the time to get 100 people in jail because that'll take a while. They don't want to, they don't want to donate money to the legal funds that I'm sure it'll take to get these people in jail. They don't want to hear 100 tales of kids getting pooned. And that's what you have to do. You have to listen to these stories. People don't want to hear them. They want something that's palatable to hear. They want something that's quick to fix, that's easy to fix, that's cheap to fix. That's if you look at what social movements catch heat, it has those tenets. So when you talk about, why? Because look at have women. I think pedophiles is a great place to go with this because that's the thing. Now, because with women, there is truth to the fact that have women historically been marginalized as citizens in this country. You could say the world, but let's stick to this country. Let's keep our focus. Yes, right? You would agree with that, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, well, now as women are becoming less marginalized, the things you could do to them behind the scenes is becoming less.
Right.
So there is more optimism in this movement. But has there ever been a point in American history, don't take me back to the Greeks or some archaic shit, has there ever been a point in American history where pooning a child has ever been acceptable?
No.
It's always been the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 80s, Corey Feldman saying, I got pooned, Haim got pooned, that's why we're both drug addicts.
Feldman got molested.
Whatever.
Haim got pooned.
I'm using
don't
pooned as everything.
Oh, I don't like
He
it.
got pooned, he just didn't want to say it.
Oh.
He said that on national TV.
Yeah.
In an interview. That again, you could Google it. I got pooned. He got pooned. That's why he's addicted to drugs. That's why I fucking like Michael Jackson as a 50-year-old and dance like him, like a weirdo. And I got tons of friends. You just don't know them because they didn't get as famous. They all got pooned. Now, if a woman in the 80s said that, right? If a woman in the 80s said some director wanted me to blow him, and if I didn't blow him, they wouldn't give me the role. It's fair for you to say, well, that's the 80s. We weren't listening to women, but now we are, so things are changing. Could you say that about pedophilia? Could you say that, well, in the 80s, in the 80s you could bone a kid and we would look the other way? You couldn't say that.
Well, listen,
so then why?
I do...
It's not society. With women, maybe society. Maybe society has changed with women. But with kid fucking, it's because we're lazy, because we're scared. We don't want to hear it as gross. We're lazy. We're addicted to comfort. We're cheap. And we need a hit of something's happening or fuck it. We won't give up movies for 10 years. We won't give up money to legal defense funds. We don't want to hear your gross kid fucking story. And we don't want to sift through all these people and dig up stories and take the time. We don't want to. And that's why anytime someone's like, we're doing something, I'm like, well, it must be easy and it must not be that gross. So.
Yeah, I'm like, well, what I was going to say before I talk about why I'm like crying is like, I think that I've been reading some interesting essays from this writer who, okay, I'm going to take you down a rabbit hole here, but like she wrote about her sexual reawakening as like in her 40s and like sort of explored to like see what was happening and why she was feeling this way in her 40s. She like recounts her sexual history and like sort of explores when it started, and like she writes a lot about being a child of the 70s and how in like a lot of people took advantage of the sexual liberation movement and children were sexualized a lot, especially girls, but boys too, right? And like how
sexy boys.
Her name's Claire Detter. The book's Love and Trouble. It's so good. I highly recommend it. But like, and she writes like a letter to. It's just brilliant. There's like a letter to Roman Polanski who like raped a 13-year-old girl but got away with it basically. And like, Hollywood. There you go. But like how excuses were made for him, and a lot of that is related to just a sexist culture, but. And, seeing this girl is like well, she had sex before, so him raping her in her butt is totally okay, but
But also,
But what
don't you
the
think
point
the
I'm
biggest
making here
excuse
is
is those films still make box office?
I know,
So
but what
we're
I'm saying,
lazy
hold
dirtbags. We're
on.
not necessarily evil.
What
We're
I'm trying
lazy
to say
dirtbags.
is that your point, like, did they care about that in the 80s? I do think things might have been a little different. I don't know. But
No.
what makes me fucking furious and like I'm like, as you were like ranting, I just started crying because I was like getting mad at like thinking about, Corey Feldman is on a tour right now or has been. I don't know. He's fucking crazy. Like, he's on. Him and
Yes.
his band are playing, right, and it's a hot mess.
The Angels?
How many people have I seen on my Facebook who I know are
Look
hold
at
on,
this sexual
yes,
abuse survivor. He's
uh,
so goofy.
who are progressive liberals that
Yeah.
I like. I believe in everything they say and do, except this shit. Well, not everything, but you know what I'm saying. Like, basically, they should be on what I think of as the good side, the righteous side, and like they're not either because
But
like
do you know why?
that's fucked up. That person, yes, you're
But do
right.
you
Like
know?
that
Do you know
drug
why?
addiction comes from something,
Yeah.
right? Rape,
It's either
molestation.
that or
That he has
yeah.
said, like, I was molested, and we just make fun of him. Oh,
And we go, yeah, but your hair's weird. So,
look at him
but that's
making
my
a
point.
mess of himself.
If you really want to be cynical, which I do, I know you won't get on board with this, but why? Why this story, this Weinstein story? And I'm not saying, dude, this is no defense of him. This is a takedown of the lazy American public, not not a defense of the gross. Totally glad he's out of the fucking picture, Harvey Weinstein. Get a picture like Hollywood. Good. That was a good headline. But you know what? This isn't a defense of him. This is a takedown of a lazy American public because the point is, do you not think there's anything to the fact that I don't know? Can we really put, all right? So we're gonna do this story about Feldman getting pooned. He's got weird hair. He's kind of goofy. I don't know. He hasn't been on TV in a while. But Rose McGowan, she's hot.
Just
She's
survived
hot.
cancer.
Just survived cancer. Ashley Judd, oh, she's hot. She's had that big speech at the Women's March. She's trending. We can make a story out of this. This will catch.
No,
People
no,
wanna
that's
hear
not
about
true,
this.
Justin. Yeah, I mean, have you listened to reporters trying to say that they have tried to report this story on Harvey Weinstein for decades, and like no one would come forward or say anything? Like, this was brilliant reporting by
I'm
the
not
people
saying
who,
everything
for-
I'm saying is
in
the only
Times.
factors, but if you act like they aren't factors, you're being not optimistic, you're being foolish. And
I
again,
just
I'm not
don't.
saying
I
you,
don't.
Jackie Manti. I'm
I
saying
don't
anyone
think
that thinks that.
I think that they're separate.
Also, but
again, like that's why I hope that this at least lets some people feel like, oh, if I speak out against these pedophile rings that are happening to young child stars, maybe. Like maybe other people will come forward. This has shown you the domino effect of women that were like,
But
yeah,
Jackie,
that happened
it
to
touches
me too.
all the things. But it touches all the things,
So
right?
did they.
Oh, nice. Look at Jackie's getting into it. So here's the thing. But look at it, right? All the tenets I talk about, right? It's easy to listen to, right? I mean, there's jokes already about Harvey Weinstein. Because what did he do? He said, "Come take a shower with me. I jerked off in the plant." Like, it's kind of funny. Like, it's not fun. I'm not saying it's funny. I'm not saying it's funny like it's not serious.
Yeah.
But it's not gross. It's not a Penn State football coach banging a
Raping
12-year-old in
children.
a shower. You know what I mean?
And
it's an
directly using
it's
his
a
power
gross-
to create a foundation where
right.
they come over to
it's
his
a
house.
gross
Yeah.
old guy in a
It's a child.
robe being like, come on, just look at it. And then he jerks off in a plant. Like, it's kind of like there's almost goofiness to it. There's a lightness to it that you can print it in Newsweek and no one's going to lose their fucking lunch over it, right? So there's that. There's the ease of it, right? The ease of it is what happens when poor women get sexually assaulted? Nothing. Why? Because that takes a long time. Why is it easy? Because all you have to do is throw it up to Rose McGowan. She has 1 million Twitter followers. We could get the news moving on this. We can get him kicked off some boards. We get him kicked off some boards. Everyone feels good. We move on to the next piece of news. Everyone feeling better. Poor women don't have 1 million Twitter followers. They got to go to the police. They got to get laughed at by the police, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got to get their husband to take them to the police station. They got to get their husband to take them to the news station. He can't. He's worked a 12-hour shift for minimum wage. You know what I mean? Like, it's saying, like, look, it's not the grossest sexual assault ever. We can print it in the newspapers. We got some trending stuff behind it. So I bet we can get, him kicked off a couple things. People feel like the problem is solved. It's quick. It's easy. It's got all those things I talked about. It's the reason why things like the Catholic Church, why things like Hollywood pedophiles, why they don't get taken down. It would take too long. And the same thing. The Weinstein, you take out a bunch of pedophiles, a ring of pedophiles, you could take down companies. You take out Harvey Weinstein, he's got a brother. I'm sure there's people on the board. The Weinstein Corporation isn't going to stop making movies. Any movies that were slated to come out through their production company, they're still coming out. You don't have to give up seeing a new blockbuster movie because you took out Weinstein, right? I mean, you could take down Weinstein if every member of the board of Marvel movies, raped a bunch of 13-year-old Filipinos on a business trip, they would get off because you have to be like, all right, we can't, it's going to take us a while to rebuild this board, to get everything figured out, to get the money sorted out. We're going to not have a new Marvel movie for like 10 years. People will be like, well, I don't know, like, she's 13, but a Filipino 13, that's like 18. It doesn't no mean yes. Isn't it like 13 different words for snow or something? Like people, they won't give up things they like. And they don't have to. And they won't do anything that takes like years to sort out. They want it done. They want 72 hours. They want to see something happen. So.
I get where you're coming from, Justin. I think cynicism is like
realism?
No, I think that's almost obedience at this point. Like I just think it's so easy to feel like nothing's going to happen, and it's harder to be like,
I don't know.
Something's going to happen, and let's try to make it happen.
I've always adhered to the definition that I think is smarter, that there's cynicism in playing into the things I talk about. So to me, there's a cynicism in news organizations and activists and other people involved in this movement. Not all of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying the general public. They are lazy, but I don't think they even know it. But I'm saying like the politicians and, your Ben Afflecks and your leaders of these movements and your Hollywood producers and your news media that are kind of controlling this narrative, they're the cynics because they know everything I say and they do it anyways. That's the cynicism. The cynicism is knowing what it is and not just accepting it, but doing with it what you will, and usually to your advantage. Because it's the news media going, this is a sex crime that we can have a good ending to in 72 hours. Let's run with this one. That's media cynicism. That's what it is. It's Hollywood cynicism to go, if we fire him, I bet people will stop looking into this. Let's just can him. He's one guy. That's cynicism. Me calling it out is realism. Cynicism is playing into it. And that's what I think is happening right now. And that's what it makes me. It doesn't not make me sad. I'm just not surprised. And I feel worse for any young boy that's ever been on television or in a movie more than I ever will for someone that had to watch a gross guy jerk off in a plant. And those people will never get their day in the court of public opinion or in actual court. They just never will. They won't. And that's just sad to me. That's cynicism. Not what I think. It's what happens. That's cynical.
It is sad, and I hope that's not true. And even just having this conversation, I'm like, I don't like calling people lazy because I don't think that's what it's coming from. I think it comes from a point. It's sort of like what we were just talking about China, where it's like you feel so helpless, and that turns into this despondency and wanting to just tune out because it's like I feel so helpless.
Wouldn't you say? I just think. Wouldn't you say? Is it better to feel the weight of that? Which is true. There is a weight. There is a weight of this computer can do amazing things for me in the world. It's made by a slave. God damn it, the world is complicated. Is it better to just take a moment? I'm not saying your whole life, but take a moment and be paralyzed by that. Is it better to do that than to look at a story in the newspaper or news cycle, problem gets brought up, problem gets solved, but no real change made, and then take relief in that, be like, something's happening. And even worse, I posted something. I also helped. Is that better? I think almost just being realistic about it's better, because at least you're not contributing to a false thought of solving things. But better if you take a year with it and just go, fuck, world's hard. Maybe you'll come out the other end and have a solution that's actually real because you didn't dull yourself down with fake solutions along the way that didn't really help things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's.
We should move on,
You
but I'll give you
say
the last
fake
word.
solutions. I say just a step on a lot of steps that have to happen. Yeah, let's go on. Topic
All
3.
right.
That was interesting.
So the headline to this article is Science confirms spiders and snakes are innately terrifying.
Ah!
Whoa. So I guess they did this study.
Happy Halloween.
It's a study they said there's been kind of incarnations of this study before.
Mhm.
But basically what they do is they show, so here, I'll just read the little paragraph here. Hold on. Okay. So 32 6-month-old babies were tested on their reactions to photos of flowers and fish versus snakes and spiders. And they kind of like arranged them so, like they were similarly colored and shaped. So it wasn't like, the prettiest flower and the scariest, like biting
Right.
snake, so.
They sort of. It
And
wasn't
they
such a jarring
they
difference.
tested babies' anxiety based on the dilation of pupils.
Mhm.
And apparently that babies were more scared innately. So babies, they weren't taught like snakes
Right.
kill you and venom. And they
Mom's
just
running
saw
from the
just
spider.
little new babies just were like spider, I'm scared, snake, I'm scared, oh fish, yay, flower, yay. And then they even used the control. I don't remember if it was this study or if they referenced another study, but if you show
Flower,
a
yay.
baby like a baby also not very scared, even though theoretically those things could crush them or eat
Right.
them. And they just theorized that if this is a biological kind of genetic evolutionary thing, that mammals, like large mammals,
Uh-huh.
are relatively new comparative to like, bugs and reptiles. So we might not.
Oh, that night
We
might
might not
be
have an
in
ingrained
our
fear of it as much. We
in
might
our
not
like
have had
primal
enough.
brain.
Yeah, we
Like
might not
spiders
have.
and snakes are in.
We might not have had enough evolutionary time to imprint fear of those things
Got
in
it.
it.
Okay.
So, yeah, and they basically say like, yeah, they're so innate that that's where phobias come from. Like if you push that innateness a little bit, it
Yeah.
could become an extreme fear, and that has some sort of evolutionary benefit,
I mean,
right?
yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, what do you think of snakes and spiders? And more importantly, do you have a
What are your
creepy?
thoughts on snakes?
Do
and
you have a
spiders?
creepy crawly that extra makes you go like, I hate that thing, like a pest or a
Like
bug? It
the
can be
centipede we just killed in our apartment?
That's kind of what attracted me to this article, so you can tell that story if you want. But even like, mice or rats or maybe like bears. Like, do you have any animal or like nature even we could say related fears?
Yeah. I think that's so interesting that like they prove that it's like baby, because I always thought, well, if your mom's scared of spiders, you learn to be scared of spiders. You know what I mean? Like yeah, that's in your brain. I'm reading this book called Mindsight by Daniel Spiegel, and like he's like a brain scientist, and like when he's explaining the brain, he like retells this story about like when he like your brain just will pick up on things you don't even know, and like spiders and snakes are one of, like he was hiking through a forest with his son, and all of a sudden before he even could think of it, like the words came out of his mouth. He said stop, and like made his son stop, and like then he like was like, why did I say, what's going on? And like boom boom boom, it happened so fast, right? But like there was like a coiled baby rattlesnake right in front of his son, and like his brain like just picked up on it, like he could see it,
It
before
is crazy.
he
Like,
saw it.
there's
So
there's
cool.
no more interesting, I think, field of study than like evolutionary genetics and
Yeah.
like the idea of like, is that what? I'm gonna sound so stupid, because like I don't know. It's like, I think it's called like imprinting, or this just is like this idea that like you can have like things that happen to you can like physically alter your DNA, and then you can pass that on. Because we think of like
Oh,
height and like eye color, like the things that we're born with and we don't really change,
Yeah.
And plus, like if you change your eye color through context, like you don't pass that on. But just like something like this, you would think like, how can we have fears passed on genetically? Or just we think of things like instincts, like these instincts we
Yeah.
have, and it's like, oh, because probably like they're the people that were probably really scared, it could have like changed a wiring in their brain,
Yeah.
changed some sort of genetic
And
makeup.
it's all there
those
in different
people-
parts of your brain.
Yeah, and those people didn't
Mhm.
get eaten, and then they have more babies, and now they have
Yeah.
babies that like,
Oh, it's
get- I
fascinating,
don't know.
right?
and like, cause it's fun, cause a lot of stuff that's not proven, like it's still kind of controversial, that idea that you could change your DNA through life and then pass on those changes. Like I feel like there's a lot of like what can, what can't. So that's why I think it's like I said, interesting study, because it's like still very like new and study. But all right, let's get what are you scared
Yeah.
of?
Well, that centipede was disgusting.
So the other day,
Yeah.
you were in the living room, I was in the kitchen, and you were like, Justin, bring a shoe and a chair. And I said, it's got to be bug related. How bad could it be? We've had some
Because I didn't scream.
we've had some centipedes in the house before. I feel like if you live in the
They're like
Midwest,
little
the house
ones.
centipede is pretty common. It's definitely the grossest fucking bug ever.
So gross looking.
It's got like
man.
long ass legs. It's long, and then it's got these big antennas that are super long, and it's got like little pinchers on the back.
Yeah. Ooh.
So
Ooh.
this thing, I shit you not, I was like, oh, Jackie's scared of bugs. Got to be the big strong husband. This thing was like the
Oh.
size of like a shrimp. Like it was huge. I
Huge.
was like, holy shit. But I got the chair and a shoe and I whacked it and it felt good. But your ultimate fear with those is you whack it
and it just
scurries
scurries away.
It scurries away. Like you didn't get flat enough. And it was on like a piece of like crown molding.
Yeah.
So I really had to mush because I didn't want it to just shoot out and then it shoots behind something. And you're like,
yeah.
now
Where
it's
did it
just,
go?
now it's in the
missing.
house.
Yeah.
Now it's in the house.
Especially that one. Because the other ones we've seen have been small. Like, there's fast little
This
fellas,
thing
but they're
was
small. This thing was
huge.
Oh, gross.
Size of the shrimp, no hyperbole.
Fucking gross.
You always accuse me of hyperbole. Is that hyperbole?
No.
It's
that
like
thing-
crawdad
that thing
size.
was
Like a skinnier crawdad. Crawdad's a little fat. But like length and leg
Oh.
length, it was fucking huge.
It was huge. And I stayed far away. Thank you. for
How
being here.
centipedes do stink. That's a big Midwest thing. I think that's where
Centipedes,
they're
I don't like.
mostly located.
I'm like, so I grew up on a farm, so rodents don't creep me out. Like, I'm not afraid
Mouses
of mice.
scare the shit out of
Not
me.
me.
They just move so quick. It's jarring.
Yeah, those are just little
We had
animals
mice
to
at
me.
one house I had in college, and they
Mhm.
would creep the shit out of me. I remember I lived with a football player too. He's like a
Yeah.
pretty big guy, and he was so scared. He'd always try to play it off, but literally we'd be like, "Oh, there's the mouse," and he would like stand up on the couch,
He'd be
you know,
so
and he would be
scared.
like, "I don't know, it's just kind of weird, right?" Like he'd always try to play, but he was like clearly like terrified. But
Terrified.
I hate them too. They move so quick; they're just creepy.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think
they
it's
do
their
move
movement.
quick. Yeah,
It's
this-
their movement. I was like, yeah.
Well, I've
Because you always just have this fear it's gonna like run up your pant leg or run up, you know, like
It's because they move so fast. I
right,
know.
like you couldn't stop them, and then
That's-
just like, "Vroom," and you'd be
I-
like, oh,
I
it's touched
hate
me.
roaches because even though centipedes can like, those move fast, they're eating bugs. They're not gonna hurt me. They're not like. One does not mean there's a million, and that's what a roach means.
There
a roach
is-
means there
It's
are
the
fucking
so it's
more.
you're not so with roaches. It's not that you're scared of individual roaches per se. You
It's
just
the
know it's a
mental-
sign of
it's
infestation.
the mind fuck of like there's gotta be 5 million more in my walls. Where like centipede, I'm like fucking gross. Shut the
Yeah,
window.
that's kind of like
Something,
spiders
I don't
too.
know.
Spiders just come in the
Yeah,
house.
like
you
they're
know.
just kind of roaming doing their thing. But like a
Um,
roach means you're gonna
Yeah.
have to deal
And
with
it's
this
kind of like
for a
I said
long
with the
time.
centipedes. It's like roaches are like roaches and mice for that instance too. Is like they eat food. Like they came in your house to find food.
Yeah.
So you could open like a box of food and find a
something would
roach
be
in
in there.
it, you know, or you open your drawers.
Oh, I feel like
Are you
there's
getting
stuff
itchy?
crawling on me. Ugh.
Have you ever seen like those
Um,
pest shows where they go in people's houses infested with roaches, and it's like, how do you live like
Oh,
that? They'll
how
just
I
like
know.
lift a painting off the wall and just like
Scatter.
it's just like a wall from scurry,
It's mental
or they'll
health
just like
or
open like a
poverty.
drawer. It's usually poverty, which is sad, but it's also
Yeah.
still like some things are worth the debt or the extra hours. You can't like
Well,
live
if you're too poor to get a credit card or you have
whatever.
unfair
you gotta figure
stuff
something
on
out.
your record. Okay.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's
so
we're
my-
gonna,
okay, so
this is the
roaches,
fun topic.
roaches, and okay, I've talked to you about this before. I have a weird thing with holes, like little bunches of holes make me feel disgusting. Like I get goosebumps and I
What
feel
happened
sick
to
to my
your
stomach and I
ancestors?
feel really ugh. Yeah, well, it's a real phobia. I've like Googled it for. Okay, so for example, like if people are like, "What are you talking about?" Like even like a pattern when like if there's something printed on a piece of paper and it's a pattern, it's a bunch of little holes, like some like an arrow. I get like creeped out. Beehives, like those little holes all grouped together. Like lotus seeds, those big flowers with all the holes in them and there's seeds in them. That shit, oh my God. One time this woman at work, she had this cute little snakeskin, like, headband on, and the way it was like a crepe material, and the way the crepe material laid with the snakeskin pattern made it look like she had like just a grouping of holes wrapped around her head. I couldn't look at her, and like I just was so distracted. I'm like, I am so fucking terrified of this. I don't know, it just makes me feel so gross. But it's
Did she
called,
wear it like a lot too?
yeah,
Oh,
I
no.
know, and I was like, it's called trypophobia, and it's a phobia of irregular patterns or clusters of small holes or bumps. And a lot of
So
times, do you
crazy
know what
that
it
it's
is?
like,
I know that it's a real thing.
yeah.
Like it's I think that you asked like what happened to my ancestors. Like primarily, it's like kind of associated with disease, like skin
Mm,
disease. You'll see a lot of like holes or like you think of like scaly skin,
yeah.
right? There's like layers of holes or like like stuff you're flaking off or like bugs and like if you have an infestation of wasps, there's like, what do those look like? There's a lot of holes.
Boo!
Ugh.
Boo!
Or like holes in the ground. There's something there that like is alive and could hurt you. Gross.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't. Oh, I'm getting so weirded out talking about it.
You getting
Ugh.
itchy?
I'm like looking around for centipedes.
Once I remember when I was in this. I remember once when I was like in high school. I think we got moths. And we had to
Oh.
have
Uh
like
huh.
a guy come and like it was easy to get rid of them, but I just remember that's like we because it's like we did. It wasn't like a gross level, but it was like an infestation level, and that was the thing is like we would like just every once in a while see like a moth in the house. We'd like kill the moth, but you're like, moth got. But it seemed like a lot. And then I remember once I was making a box of like Kraft, like or
Oh
not
no.
Velveeta macaroni and cheese, and so I
Yeah.
opened the box, took the little packet of cheese grossness out, and then deliciousness. But it's not cheese; it's cheese flavored plastic. And then I dumped the noodles in like the boiling water, and then after they
Oh.
sat, you just saw these moths like float to the surface because they were like lighter than the noodles, and I was like, "Oh God!" And that's like what happened. Like you think of like clothes,
Goosebumps.
you think of like
Ooh.
clothes, right? Like the
Yeah.
mothballs, but really like when we had the guy like the exterminator come, he's like, yeah, they like starches, so like they can get kind of small and get into like an unopened box, and then like they might get trapped, but they're kind of just trying to like.
Yeah.
So we had to like take all we had like a pantry, we had to like take all the pastas out and like make sure there weren't moths, and then put them in like a we put them in like a Ziploc or something, or you could throw them out, but if there weren't
Yeah.
any moths, it's like well let's not throw it out, but you put it in different container. So I just remember for a while, because obviously we had to eat through them, like you don't eat through them right away. So for a while, our pantry was like, it'd be like a Ziploc of like noodles and a cheese packet, because we had like opened up all the
Yeah,
boxes and like
like
rice-a-roni,
separate
that's
it.
just like a box of rice and like like a seasoning packet or whatever. But they were pretty easy to get rid of. But I just remember. So I wasn't ever grossed out by moths, and I'm still not. But
Yeah.
that memory will be stuck in my head of the little moths floating up to the top of the water. But yeah, I would say mice is big. I don't like
is
mice.
really-
And see, like, but it's the littleness and the scurriness.
Yeah, see,
'Cause
that's why we're a good pair.
when
'Cause
I
if we
see
have mice, I could handle
when I
it.
see
Bugs,
rats, like I'll go walk through an alley in
Yeah.
Chicago, I'll see like a rat scurry. They're still
Not a big
big. It
deal.
doesn't really weird me out.
Okay,
Like, and I
it's
know
sort of
they're
like a squirrel.
yeah, and I know they're it's like a squirrel. I think rats get hated on a little much.
I know. I love.
They're just ugly
You know what I
squirrels.
love about you, Justin? We'll end our fighting with love. I love that you have an affinity and like appreciation for city animals.
That's what I
Like
always say.
your rat and like you
Rats and
appreciate the
pigeons.
hard assness of pigeons. I like
That's
you.
what I say. Why do
I
we?
like your underdog fandom.
I always say,
of
why do we
city
hate?
animals.
Why do we hate rats? Rats are just field mice that moved to the city to try to make it.
And they made it. They're huge.
We hate city animals. We love country animals. They're just animals.
Country mice are the real Americans. Okay.
Yeah. I'm the real mice. You garbage eating, latte sipping
I like
rat.
sipping rat. Get out of your bubble.
Do you think it's any coincidence that we hate the black colored mice species? Come on, America. Say you're woke. Black rats matter. All right. So, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. You're also scared of the ocean too.
Yeah, I don't like sea creatures.
But do you like my point
Uh-uh.
is like do you hate you hate we
It's
do
the
cross out.
mindfuckness.
It's the mind-
Like
it's
I
the-
don't like being in the ocean because I don't. It's not. If
It's
I
the
know the
expansive
animals there, it's
depth.
that anything could be down there.
But to me it's just
and,
the
like, near my
expansive
feet.
depth.
Yeah.
And it's so open.
It's so big.
And there's like layers, like you can go
Yeah.
deep and then deeper, but wider, and it's
Mhm.
expansive, and it's just like you don't belong there. Like you can't breathe underwater; they all can. There's this weird advantage, but
Yeah.
it's just everything. It's just things are all around you, above you, below you,
Yeah.
around you. It's so
No,
encompassing.
nothing's grounding you.
But that's why. Is there any particular sea animal you don't like, or is it the expansiveness?
Fucking all of it.
Because it's really the expansiveness. But if it's any of the animals, any of the fish
like, I mean,
on
I
a
get-
single.
Yeah, and if
It
it's
doesn't
like,
scare me like as a singular, like you
Yeah.
can take those fish one at a time, they wouldn't scare me. Even like a shark's not that scary,
Mhm.
but it's like surrounded by sharks or can't see the
Well,
sharks.
that's it. The can't see.
All
Like, if
that
you
shit.
look at my fears, they're all things that, like, I just don't know. Like, there's an unknowingness to it, and, like, it could get really, really bad. Like, roaches. There could be fucking 5 million of them in my
This
wall.
could get
It
bad.
could be, there could be a whole bunch of octopi under my feet, you know, ready to eat me. There could be something weird in those holes on your head.
All right, let's close it out. Oh, we didn't do plugs up top. I pulled a Jackie.
Don't call it.
I was waiting for you to get mad about that. All right, so we'll just plow through. Look, you got a whole podcast without early plugs. So we'll just do some late ones to
All
close
right,
out.
I gotta pee.
FemComPod.com. That's where you can find episodes. This one, earlier ones, the whole catalog's there. Find out info on rating and reviewing and subscribing. We're on iTunes, Stitcher. We're on everything. If you have it, we're on it. If we're not, we got an RSS feed up there. You can plug that into whatever app you use, and you can listen to this podcast and for everything, including this podcast, my podcast, Jackie's podcast, my albums, writing from Jackie. You can go to lowclass.com, lo-class.com. If you want to help the show out, we already got patrons, baby. We got patrons. We're professionals. Don't tell the government, though. And if you want to be one, too, as little as $1, and we fucking love that $1, you get bonus episodes. But if you want some merch, you want some original artwork from Jackie Manti, you can pledge a little more. But either way, just go to patreon.com/lowclass no dash /LO class no dash. So hit that up, man. Patreon. Love Patreon. If you love us, go to Patreon. Justin Golak, that's me, JustinGolak.com. At Justin Golak on Twitter. Justin at Justin Golak. Email. Send me them dick pics. Dude, I've been booking shows. October, November. I got stuff coming up in Chicago. I got a few things coming up in November out of town. Very few things. But I will post those soon. But they always get posted at JustinGolak.com. Upcoming shows. Jackie Manti. At Jackie_Manti on Twitter, JackieManti.com.
/blog.
Well, just go there. You can click the blog link.
Yeah,
There's
that's
other
true.
stuff to
There's other
explore. And Jackie at JackieManti.com. Send them tit pics.
And mildlydepressed.com.
Yep. Anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it.
You just want to pee.
I had to pee. I love you guys.
FemComPod.com. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.